My boyfriend, 30 years old, and I, 28 years old, have been together almost 7 years. We have had our ups and downs for sure, but overall we have a good relationship. We got sober from alcohol together a little over 2 years ago, and things have been wildly better since then. The problem is his best friend Alan, 35 years old. Alan has a girlfriend, Jessica, 31 years old. They have been together for 15 or more years. Alan is disrespectful to Jessica and everyone else really, and I truly do not understand their relationship. He blatantly talks about other women and his intimacy attraction to them in front of her, and she acts like it doesn't bother her. He openly talks about his escapades at different strip clubs and shows his friends videos of strippers grinding on him in front of her. I think for some reason she feels like she needs to be cool with it to keep him around or something. Their dynamic has always rubbed me the wrong way, but it's not my business. So whatever, this is not the problem. When Jack was 19, he moved states with Alan and Jessica to go to school. They lived together for over 2 years. During that time, Jack and Jessica had an affair. Jack swears it only happened one time, but I have a hard time believing that since they were under the same roof for over 2 years. Alan doesn't know about the affair. I have known Alan and Jessica since before my boyfriend and I were together. I used to party with Alan, and even then he was with Jessica, but she wasn't around much. She's never been a big partier. However, Jessica and I met on several occasions. I remember Alan used to comment on my breast size often. At the time, I was 15. He used to say, "Show me your breasts," all the time. He made these comments in front of Jessica on more than one occasion, and I could tell it bothered her, but she didn't say anything. Fast forward a few years, and I start dating Jack. Alan and Jessica live in another town a couple of hours away, and they came to visit our hometown. Jessica acted as if we had never met before. That was the first red flag for me. Since then, she's always been very standoffish with me. This has always rubbed me the wrong way, especially given her history with Jack. Jessica is also a very beautiful woman. She lights up when she is talking to Jack, and I can tell that Jack is still very much attracted to her. I cannot blame him for this, because as I said, she's very attractive. The problem I am having is that Alan and Jessica are coming to visit in a couple of weeks. Jack knows that I do not approve of the history between him and Jessica, and I would rather they not stay in our home. It makes me uncomfortable. Jack swears it's not like that, but still. So Alan calls Jack today and asks if they can stay here. Jack says he needs to talk to me first. Jack has a habit of doing things like this, where he sets me up to be the bad guy. Now I can either let them stay here and feel super uncomfortable in my own home, or say no, and then his best friends will know that I have a problem with them. What really bothers me the most is that although Alan is a disrespectful person, that's not even why I don't want him staying here. What I cannot get past is Jessica. I worry that Jack is Jessica's backup plan, which is why she treats me so coldly. Jack has always been kinder to her than Alan has, and truthfully, I worry that Jessica is in love with Jack. The other issue is that, as I said, we are sober from alcohol. Alan is a big drinker. I don't mind being around people who are drinking, but he is over the top. He's rude, loud, and annoying. I don't think Jack's sobriety is as stable as mine, and I worry that Alan is a danger to Jack's sobriety. Am I being unreasonable here? Should I just suck it up and let them stay here? I know I can be a jealous person, and I'm worried that I may be making a mountain out of a molehill. And these people are not going anywhere, so I see this being an issue for the rest of our lives. This isn't the first time it's come up, and I know it won't be the last. I have even considered sitting down with Jessica and putting all the cards on the table. Is that a horrible idea? I don't know if she would be honest with me about it. She will probably tell me the same thing as Jack, that it was a long time ago, it happened one time and it was a mistake. At the time, Jack hadn't been with a woman for over a year, and he was 19 years old, so he blames both these things for his lack of morals. I get it, things happen, but I have a hard time accepting that he would do this to his best friend. Sometimes I wonder if Jack has been in love with Jessica this entire time too. And these are the mental spirals I get myself into every time I am forced to look at this situation. Someone help. And don't tell me to break up with him, because I won't. I love him. I need advice on how to move past this jealousy, even if I don't allow them to stay in my house. They always want to go camping or take other trips, and I have been avoiding it for as long as I can. I honestly would love to not have these feelings. I wish Jack never told me about his history with Jessica. I don't have any reason to think that Jack would cheat on me. He's been very faithful. We've never fought about another woman except Jessica, and it's only about his history, which feels so unfair to him. But part of me thinks this is on him for sleeping with his best friend's girlfriend. Almost forgot, sorry for the long post. This is my first time posting on here. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Their staying with you will be the beginning of the end. Alan sounds like a pig, to be honest, and even if you tell them no alcohol is allowed in your home, I would bet a chunk of money that if you leave the house for any period of time, it will show up somehow. If Jack totally disregards your feelings about Jessica, then that's a big red flag. And she's rude on top of it. You both need to tell them that staying with you is just not convenient at this time, but you'd love to get together while they're in the area. Stand your ground, OP. Your wishes should be respected. Comment 2. Gross. Don't let them stay in your home. I wouldn't trust Jack or Jessica. Your husband can do that to his best friend. He can do it to you. Keep Jessica far away, and if Jack has issues with that, well, then you know how he really feels about her. I say you anonymously tell Alan. But if their marriage blows up, you know who she is turning to for comfort, right? Would he do the comforting? Not good. Not good at all. Now for the update. 1 week after Alan and Jessica's visit, I'm still trying to figure out the whole weekend. It's just so complicated and so many things came up that I still feel confused and upset about. Alan and Jessica arrived at our home on a Friday evening, and I was really nervous about it. I mean, we had been preparing for this visit for weeks, and I could feel my anxiety creeping up as the day approached. My boyfriend Jack was in the kitchen making snacks, and I was trying to help him, but I couldn't shake the feeling of unease. I greeted Alan and Jessica at the door, and Alan immediately made a rude joke about my cooking, which I tried to ignore. I could tell that Jessica seemed uncomfortable, and she laughed nervously, which just made me feel more uneasy. The group sat down for dinner, and I couldn't help but notice how overly accommodating Jack was to Jessica. It was almost like he was trying too hard to make her feel welcome, and I couldn't help but feel a little bit jealous. During dinner, Alan made multiple comments about attractive women, including Jessica, and I could see that she was visibly distressed by it. What really got to me was that Jack didn't push back against any of Alan's comments. It made me realize that maybe he was still harboring some feelings for Jessica, and it just made me more insecure. After dinner, I offered to clean up, and Jack helped me, leaving Alan and Jessica in the living room. While washing the dishes, I overheard Alan asking Jessica if she was still upset about their last fight. I didn't know what that was about, but it just added to my feeling of discomfort. The next day, I decided to invite everyone to a local farmer's market for a change of scenery. At the market, I noticed that Jessica seemed more relaxed, but avoided Alan, who was busy flirting with other women. I caught Jack glancing at Jessica while she chatted with a vendor, and it stirred up all those old insecurities I thought I had dealt with. That evening, Alan and Jessica had a loud argument in the living room, and I felt like I had to intervene. Alan stormed out, leaving Jessica in tears, and I ended up having a heart-to-heart with her. Jessica confided that she felt trapped in her relationship with Alan and hinted at some past issues. I didn't want to get into too much detail about my history with Jack, including the affair, but I shared a brief overview, which I think helped Jessica feel a little less alone. The next morning, Jack and Alan went for a walk, leaving Jessica and me alone again. It was nice to have some time to talk, and I could see that Jessica really needed it. When Jack returned, the tension escalated when Alan showed up with a 6-pack of beer. I insisted that we should have a sober evening, and Alan scoffed at it, which ignited an argument. Jack tried to mediate but ended up siding with Alan, who accused me of overreacting. I felt so sidelined and dismissed, so I decided to leave the room and cool off while the argument escalated. Afterward, Jack found me in the bedroom, and we had a heated discussion about the entire conflict. He felt caught between defending his friend and being supportive of his girlfriend, which I get, but it was just so frustrating. The next day, the tension hung in the air as we all prepared for a family barbecue that we had planned. During the barbecue, Alan made another rude remark about me, and Jack just brushed it off like it was nothing. I was so tired of the disrespect that I finally confronted Alan in front of everyone, which caused an awkward silence. Alan retaliated by bringing up the affair, which shocked everyone, including Jessica. She left the barbecue in tears, and Alan followed her, which just created this rift in our gathering. Jack was furious with me for confronting Alan and stormed into the house. I tried to explain my side, but he just shut me down. It was like he was more concerned about his friend than about how I was feeling. Jack threatened to end our relationship if I couldn't get along with his best friend, and that hit me hard. The next day, Jessica texted me asking to meet up for coffee to seek some clarity. At the cafe, she revealed that she had decided to break up with Alan for good. I think she just needed the push to finally do it, and I was glad to be there for her. After the coffee meeting, I found Jack at home, and we sat down to talk. While we were discussing the situation, he expressed his frustration, but ultimately agreed to work on our relationship. I was relieved to hear that because I really do love Jack and want to make this work. Edit. After reading the comments, I realized I didn't clarify some points. Jack and Jessica's affair happened years ago, long before we dated. Alan's comment about my cooking was a joke, but it bothered me given the context. The barbecue was meant to be a casual family gathering, and Jack's threat to end our relationship was made in frustration, not as an ultimatum. Am I the idiot for confronting my husband's manipulative mother at a family gathering and exposing her toxic behavior? The title says it all. My husband and I have been married for 5 years. We have 4 lovely children together. His mother has always been very toxic to our relationship. She baited my husband to another woman, got me trespassed on her property, called the police on me multiple times, with one resulting in 1 day in jail, and she also tried to file for divorce on his behalf. She paid for the proceedings and asked him to sign paperwork. I have been put through hell and back with this woman. My own mother had to threaten a restraining order. Last year, around November, my husband's mother put me in jail on false child protective services charges. This was the last straw for me because I had to be taken away from my babies on false accusations. My husband and I agreed to go to marriage counseling, and our rabbi literally said, "Your mother put your wife in jail. That's a breach of marriage. I would respect her wishes." My wishes were for my husband to decide between his mother and me. She is so toxic, it is impossible for me to even fake a relationship with her. When my husband told her the false accusations got me 1 day in county, she literally said, "I didn't put anyone in jail." When I saw that message, my heart crumbled. How can I have someone like this near my kids? Also, within our pact, my husband promised me to cut ties with my toxic sperm donor. I agreed wholeheartedly and never considered reaching out to the sperm donor anyway. Beside the point, today my husband is upset over the usage of my phone, which is weird because he is always on his. So he decided to go through all the apps on my phone. I think whatever, but because of this weird reaction, I decided to go through his phone when he fell asleep. I always knew the passcode to his phone, but I never cared to go on there because he used it mostly for business or streams, so I didn't think too much of it. Anyways, when I went through his phone, I realized he had a strange contact messaging him in the form of a business name. Think website email. So I'm thinking, okay, probably for therapy. I guess she's a life coach now, which is very laughable. So I realized the messages were very inconsistent. It was giving message and delete. I found messages from the date my husband and I went to counseling and made this promise to the date of messages from recently now. I'm talking last week. She is saying, "Pray for your grandfather, he has kidney failure. And when can I see you and my grandbabies? I miss you so much." Honestly, in some messages, I thought she was talking to herself until I realized in one thread she requested my husband to call her. I'm assuming she'll message him and he'll respond with a phone call and delete the number in his call log. because I did not see the number in his call log, but I know she's not delusional to talk to herself. Reddit, I'm so hurt. It's been 5 long battling years with this woman over the affection of her son. Like, what was the point of counseling? Was there any value to the pact we made? By the way, he knows I would never reach out to my sperm donor because the relationship has been permanently severed. It has been since I was 23 from him overstepping his boundaries in my marriage. Sometimes I blame myself because I want to see the good in my husband, but he has been lying to me. For months now, he had me believe it was just me and him together, fighting for our marriage and the repair of the marriage. I don't think I have any more fight left in me. I sent the receipts to myself on purpose from his phone, so in the morning he will know that I know. So my question is, I don't know what to do next. He's in bed very sick from infection 19, and I don't even know if I should confront this, or when should I confront this. Should I act like everything is okay? Should I bother the marriage counselor who already told us how to solve it? Should I push him into therapy for trauma? I'm very hurt. I'm so loyal to my husband, and it's sad how he's basically hurting me by keeping a relationship with a woman who I know wants to see me dead or in jail. By the way, throw away because my husband has read it. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Someone can make false accusations to Child Protective Services, but one doesn't generally go to jail for child abuse or neglect unless there's some actual evidence of that. In my experience, that evidence has to be pretty good, judging from all the clearly guilty people who receive very little punishment. So I'm curious what you mean by she put you in jail on false Child Protective Services charges. Comment 2. With how unhelpful Child Protective Services is, even when abuse is clear, it's profoundly unlikely that you were arrested on false charges. I would recommend fixing whatever they found that led to your arrest before you worry about anything else. Now for the update. A few days after I found the messages from my husband's mom, I figured it was finally time to confront him. He's been recovering from infection 19 and totally out of it, so I wanted to wait for him to feel better. I thought maybe we could have a normal conversation when he wasn't feeling so bad. A couple of days ago, he was finally feeling more like himself, so I brought it up. I sat him down and said, "Hey, we need to talk." He immediately got defensive, saying he was just trying to keep things calm for the kids. I was like, "What? Keep things calm? Like your mom is the one causing all this drama." So I told him I saw the messages dated back to before our counseling sessions. He got even more defensive and accused me of invading his privacy by checking his phone. Like, yeah, I invaded your privacy. I had to because you're still in contact with your mom. I didn't want to check your phone, but I had no choice. I was so frustrated that I just left the house to cool down. I went to a local coffee shop and just sat there for a while. While I was there, I ran into a friend of ours who mentioned a family gathering planned for the upcoming weekend. She casually mentioned that my mother-in-law was invited too, and I just felt my blood pressure rise. I knew I had to go to that gathering and confront her directly. So the gathering happened this past weekend. The atmosphere was so tense, and I felt everyone was watching me. My mother-in-law kept trying to engage me in small talk, like nothing was going on. I just gave her one-word answers and didn't look her in the eye. At one point, I overheard her telling other relatives how much she missed her grandkids, and I just snapped. I challenged her in front of everyone. I said something like, "Oh, you miss them so much that you try to get their mother arrested." She acted all surprised and said she only wanted what's best for her son and grandkids. My husband couldn't take it anymore and intervened, and they started arguing. Then the rest of the family started picking sides, and it just got really messy. I felt so bold at that moment, like I was done hiding and keeping my mouth shut. So I revealed the truth about the messages in front of everyone, and everyone was shocked. My husband was so upset, and his mom tried to twist the story again. My sister-in-law, who had been quiet the whole time, stood up and supported me. It was so surprising, but I was relieved to have someone else on my side. Then she started telling everyone about her experiences with my mother-in-law's manipulation, and it was just wild. The argument escalated even more, and my husband just stormed out. I knew I had to follow him outside to continue the conversation. I wasn't done talking to him. Outside, he accused me of ruining the family gathering and causing a scene. I pointed out that his mom was the real problem and outlined her toxic behavior. He started to realize how much she had influenced our marriage, and it was like a light bulb went off in his head. I proposed that we take a break from his mom to heal our relationship, and he reluctantly agreed. But he insisted on communicating with her after the break. A couple of days later, he got a call from her, demanding to speak with him. He took the call in a separate room, and I overheard them arguing. He actually defended me, and I was shocked at his newfound assertiveness. After the call, he admitted he was tired of her interference. I proposed setting up boundaries with her moving forward. We both agreed to attend a family therapy session to address the issues together. The session involved some intense discussions about family dynamics and personal boundaries. He finally recognized the years of manipulation, and he expressed remorse for not seeing it sooner. The next day, I prepared a letter to my mother-in-law outlining our new boundaries. I felt empowered by my decision to address the situation head-on. The letter also included consequences for any further manipulative behavior. I mailed the letter and felt like a weight had been lifted off my shoulders. Even though things feel better between me and my husband and his mom has finally backed off, I'm still cautious about everything. I think it's going to take a long time for us to fully trust each other again, given how messed up things got. I'm also worried about the consequences of the letter I sent to my mother-in-law. I wouldn't put it past her to try and cause more problems for us. If anything significant happens, I'll make sure to update you all. Edit. The family therapy session led to important discussions about boundaries. My husband now better understands the toxicity of his mother's influence. Am I the idiot for expecting my long-distance boyfriend to care about my stressful move? We've been together for 2.5 years. My long-distance boyfriend and I have a generally healthy relationship. We communicate quite well and resolve issues. This post, however, is one example I don't think he handled correctly, or how I can communicate my feelings openly without feeling like I'm being too much. For context, he has been a rock for me for the past several months. We were both international students, and he got a job first. He helped me, applied on my behalf, and supported me emotionally for several weeks. Now I have a job offer too, which I received the day before yesterday. I have to move to the other side of the country in just 5 days, find a place, and ensure my employer is okay with the visa. However, the timing couldn't be more stressful than it already is. To put it very broadly, there are issues with my current lease ending in 5 days, my first day of the new job starting in 7 days, and to tie it all together, some visa problems that have been keeping me up at night. I had a really bad day today due to external factors completely beyond my control. I texted him about how frustrating the situation was, and he completely changed the topic and said, okay. It really annoyed me that he couldn't even send a simple text empathizing with me. I understood and acknowledged later that he has a lot on his plate too, and him not being responsive to my message does not invalidate just how supportive he has been. My insurance switched providers, and the therapist I was seeing isn't in network anymore, which is disappointing. I don't think I have anyone to talk to besides him because he was in the same situation as I am. On the video call, I was validating him, telling him I understand his own friends are also seeking his help, so he must have felt overwhelmed and exhausted, and it can be tiring. He thanked me for validating him. Now, I wasn't asking for validation in return, but I thought that him feeling good that I was trying to understand made me feel safe about being vulnerable myself. I said that I realized the problem isn't him, it's me. Right now, with current stressors, I have a greater need for emotional support, and I shouldn't wholly rely on him, although he is the only person I am looking to for support right now. I really thought we were having a heart-to-heart and being mutually supportive and understanding when I saw him roll his eyes, and he quickly said, "I'm sleeping now, I'm tired, goodbye," and hung up on me with a very audibly annoyed tone. Look, here I wasn't asking for support. I was just talking normally because I felt emotionally safe in the moment to share that. If he felt overwhelmed, I wouldn't have been offended if he kindly told me that he doesn't have the bandwidth to hear me talk right now. Instead, when I felt so vulnerable and safe, I was shut down like I'm too much. I just feel so unloved and unwanted. I never want to confide in him again. I'm aware he was struggling too, but the way he shut me down makes it too hurtful for me to even want to address that. I'm open to criticism. Yes, I've been anxious a lot, terribly so, and I know it can impact others around me. But the thing is, I validated his feelings, and sometimes I just wanted to be validated too. And if not that, just be turned down nicely, not made to feel like how I just felt. I'm heartbroken and feeling pathetic. Also, normally I'm not like this. The past few days have been more stressful than any other days I've ever experienced in my life. Another reason I don't feel like addressing his behavior is that he might again perceive this conversation as a way for me to add more problems to his life. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Part of being in a long-term relationship is accepting that sometimes your partner will have a very hard time and being there for them. Your boyfriend let you down by not communicating with you. I think your hang-ups around addressing his behavior are a sign of deeper issues in the relationship. I'm not saying dump him, but I am saying have an honest and difficult conversation about emotional labor and meeting emotional needs. Comment 2. You can really learn who a person is during times of hardship. Yes, people can be allowed to explain that they don't have the mental capacity to support as much as needed right now. But eye-rolling and hanging up is simply an inconsiderate move regardless of what's on his plate, which doesn't actually sound like much, especially in comparison. You need to have this conversation with him because there will always be future hardships. Now for the update. 3 days after my last video call with my boyfriend, I got an email about my job relocation, and let's just say it added a lot more urgency to my housing situation. I mean, I knew I was moving, but now it was like, boom, get your life together. So I spent the entire day reaching out to various apartment listings in the new city, and honestly, I was feeling overwhelmed by the options. Who knew there were this many places to live? It was like scrolling through Netflix trying to find something to watch, but like, for your life, I thought maybe my boyfriend would have some thoughts or suggestions regarding my moving plans, so I sent him a message. And you know what I got back? A one-word response. Just busy. Like, okay, thanks for the support, dude. I felt ignored again. So frustrating. I decided, screw this, and put my phone away for the afternoon to focus on finding a place to stay without getting dragged down by his indifference. Later that evening, I had a video chat with my parents to discuss my move and all the challenges I was facing. They were excited about my new job, which was great, but also expressed concern about my living situation, which, fair enough. It's a big move. During the call, my mom casually mentioned that my dad had a colleague living in the new city who might be able to help me find housing. So the next day, I decided to reach out to my dad's colleague, and thankfully, she agreed to help me find an apartment. After that, I thought, maybe this time my boyfriend would be a bit more supportive. I tried to talk to him about my progress, but boy was I wrong. He brushed off my updates, saying he had his own issues. Honestly, I felt more isolated than ever. It was like, hello, I'm going through a huge life change here and you're just going to be all about yourself? Finally, I secured an apartment and my dad's colleague helped me with the lease paperwork. I was excited and thought, finally, some good news. So I shared it with my boyfriend, expecting some enthusiasm, but nope. He responded with complete indifference. Come on. That weekend, I went to my best friend's birthday party, trying to distract myself from the distance in my relationship. At the party, my friend's new boyfriend mentioned how supportive he was of my friend's career changes, and I just had to leave early. It hit me hard. I couldn't ignore the disconnect in my relationship any longer. So I decided to invite my boyfriend over to talk about our issues more seriously. During dinner, I opened up about my feelings and the lack of connection. He just seemed uninterested and kept interrupting me. At one point, he even said he was tired of talking about feelings and just wanted to enjoy dinner. Are you kidding me? Later that night, I got a text from him saying he was going out with friends and wouldn't be back until late. The next morning, I found out through social media that he had posted pictures from a bar, just enjoying time with his friends. Like, really? A few days later, I got an unexpected message from him saying he needed to talk. We agreed to meet at a coffee shop, and I prepared myself for a difficult conversation. At the coffee shop, he admitted he felt overwhelmed by everything and needed to focus on himself. He explained he just wasn't ready for the relationship to continue. After the conversation, I left the coffee shop feeling a mix of relief and sadness. Like, I'm glad I know what's going on, but this sucks. I had my new apartment secured, but at a personal cost. The following week, I moved into my new apartment. I spent my first night alone in the new space, just trying to figure out my life. I logged onto social media to find my ex-boyfriend had already moved on. He was posting pictures with friends, acting like nothing happened. It was just the icing on the cake for me. To answer a few questions, I had been feeling for a while that my boyfriend wasn't supporting me, and this long-distance move just made it worse. His indifference and lack of empathy pushed me to reevaluate our relationship. I realized I needed to prioritize my well-being and make a fresh start in the new city. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.